Jesus was an enabler to some when it came to drinking, and he beat people. Hey, my name is Brian. Welcome to My Garage Bible Study. Yes, you heard me right. He enabled people to drink, and he beat people. Last week in My Garage Bible Study, we looked at how Jesus is a contrarian, or he has things about him that are on opposite side of the poles and cause people to not understand him, full of grace and truth. The first deep dive in the book of John about the works of Jesus have two of the most polar opposite miracles or polar opposite events in the life of Jesus you can think of, or actually in the life of anybody. The first one, we're going to read part of it. It comes from the book of John, chapter 2, and here is what it says. Verse 2, chapter 2, verse 2. Jesus was invited to the wedding with his disciples, and when the wine ran out, his mother came to him and said, "Hey, they have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." And his mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." I love this story. It's so, sometimes we got to strip back all the layers of religiosity and spirituality and just see situations for what they are. He's at a party. These things are multi-day parties. This is a wedding feast. Multi-day parties in ancient Jewish culture. And there's a crisis. They've run out of wine. And Mary goes, "Oh, we got to solve this. This is embarrassing for the people who have put this together. I'm going to go to Jesus, my son, because he does what I tell him to do, and he's done some amazing thing." And Jesus goes, "Woman?" You ever called your mother woman? Woman? It doesn't say mom. It doesn't say mother. It says, "Woman? My hour's not yet come." He knows that if he does what Mary is asking him to do, he's going to be thrust on the public stage because everyone is going to know and remember this party. And she just assumes that he's going to do it because he's a good little mama's boy. He's not. Sorry, Jesus, you weren't a good little mama's boy. You know what I'm talking about. He pleases his mother, so just do whatever he says. So let's keep going. Let's see what he says. Now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Actually, it doesn't say gallons in the original language, but that's the amount of measure. That's a lot of water. That's not like a little Gatorade bottle. These are big, huge ceremonial jars totaling, Jesus makes 120 gallons of wine. That's a lot of wine. I don't care how many people are, that's a lot of wine. Takes it to the master of the feast. The master drinks it, and I'll just tell you what he says. He says, "Wow, this is amazing wine. Sheesh. The party's actually going on here. They've ran out because people are drinking at parties." That's what a lot of people do at parties, and a lot of people do at weddings. They're not dry weddings. Like the same dynamic back then. Maybe I'll just go to the wedding and waste my Saturday just because there's going to be free food and alcohol. And that's basically what happened back then. And so it's all gone. And the wine steward says, "Man, this is amazing wine. Holy cow." Normally when people are a bit looped, they bring out the cheap stuff because no one can tell. They bring out the Rianiti Red or the Mad Dog 2020 or the whatever, the lower shelf Jack Daniels. You brought the best for last, of course. Of course, if Jesus is going to create wine, it's going to be great wine. Of course he is. Some people say, "Well, it wasn't really wine. It was this jelly substance it was the grapes and they were fermented." Like, oh, that's exactly what people who don't understand Jesus say. "Yeah, I don't like to drink alcohol, so therefore it must not have been alcohol." Dude, it was alcohol. Doesn't mean you should drink. Doesn't mean drinking is a good idea for everybody. But when the wine steward says this is great stuff, he knows the difference between alcohol-free grapefruits, grape juice, and wine itself. Jesus is actually literally enabling people to drink right now. He's enabling the party to go on. There's no way around this. Public service announcement. A lot of us should not be drinking. It's not a rite of passage. It's not something that makes you more spiritual. For many people, the spiritual thing is to never drink because of what's in your DNA or what's in your own personal history with alcohol. I'm not trying to promote alcohol here. I'm just trying to promote what Jesus does here. It's an amazing miracle. It's his first miracle. He turns water into wine. He helps the party go on. He enables people to drink. Wow. Sheesh. Holy cow. That's amazing. And then he does something totally contradictory. The very next thing, here's what happens. It's recorded. It's called the cleansing of the temple. Chapter 2, verse 13. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple, he found those who were selling oxen and sheep and pigeons and the money changers sitting there. And making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple. Whew. He goes to the temple like, man, I want to have some good deep worship. And when people would come to worship, they would come from far away. And sometimes they didn't have currency, but they actually had livestock, and so you could trade it at the temple and you would get your currency, and then you could trade it in, or other times you just bring your currency and then they would trade it in for the Jewish currency they would use. And the money changers, they crossed over from being a way to serve people in worship, to be able to bring something before God, to now it being a capitalistic enterprise. And there's nothing wrong with capitalism, but capitalism and worship don't go hand in hand. We come to God and give him our heart in worship. We come and we give something with worship. We don't go, oh, that was good worship. It was worth $20 today. That was a good sermon that guy gave. I don't like that one at all, so I'm going to actually stop my giving. This is capitalistic ideas when it comes to worship. It doesn't work that way. And this really, really angers Jesus when he sees people who should be equipping people to worship, actually making money. And so he takes a whip of cords. Likely, maybe it's a sash he had drawn around him, or maybe he saw some other piece of fabric and he fastens it together. He makes it, so it's not this impulsive thing where he doesn't know what he's doing, but he does know what he's doing. He starts driving people out, like flailing this thing around. Like right now, we would probably look at Jesus as having a personality disorder. Wait, well, hold on. Jesus, are you the party hardy guy, or are you the hardcore religious guy? Jesus, are you the person who's pro-partying, pro-alcohol, or are you the person who's anti-money and anti-what's happening here? Well, are you the easy as it goes? Hey man, let's just have a good party, or are you the hardcore judgmental religious type? Like, what are you people doing? You can't be doing that. Are you easygoing? Are you what are you? Yes, he's both those. In fact, you don't understand Jesus unless you understand both of these stories. That's why in the book of John, the very first full explanation of the life of Jesus has two stories wedged back to back, because you need both of these back to back. If we just see the Lord of the wine, you're going to come to one unhealthy conclusion of him. If you just see the Lord of the whips, you're going to come to another unhealthy conclusion. Both of those stories in isolation don't have the power that both of them coming together does. That's the God that I serve. That's the God you serve. You gotta be really careful to pigeonhole God and this is just the way God is, or this is just the way God thinks. There is a way God is, and there is a way that God thinks. It's just that we tend to draw ourselves to one thing that he does that suits our personality. We tend to draw ourselves to teaching the Bible to the things that just affirm the things that we think without getting pushed. Everybody gets pushed with these two stories back to back. Again, the first two personality stories of Jesus. Does he have a personality disorder? No. Is he bipolar? No. Some people might think that he is, but what he is he has a wider spectrum of living life than we give him credit for, and that many people who are reading the Bible and jammed in churches live themselves. Hey friends, live your life to the fullest. I'm not saying start drinking alcohol. I'm not saying get angry and start whipping people. I'm saying this though, that Jesus is bigger and wider and deeper than you give him credit for, and you do yourself a disservice, to be on the surfacey, happy-go-lucky guy, and also to be the deep, angry, legalistic guy. Neither one of those things in and of themselves should be the picture of who you are. It's not who Jesus was. Boy, he brings fullness, doesn't he? He's good. The journey of knowing him and being like him will never end because he's incredibly wide and incredibly deep. We'll see you next time on My Garage Bible Study.